about you, but if I heard a woman called the police 50 times before on a man for putting his hands on her, and then that same man slammed her head into the counter when she's 8 months pregnant, I'm gonna make a wild assumption and say that her life is probably in danger and she should defend herself. I'm gonna take it further. Grab that weapon, girl. You're 8 months pregnant. That's exactly what Keshia Golden did. She's 8 months pregnant. Her boyfriend is arguing with her about who can use the microwave first. He slaps a plate out of her hand and then slams her head into the counter. Keshia Golden grabs that knife to protect her and her unborn daughter. This man had put his hands on her 50 times before this, and she's 8 months pregnant right now. She stabs him in the thigh, it hits a femoral artery, and now he's not here with us no more. Boo fucking who. But Chicago prosecutors are charging her with first-degree murder. Make that make fucking sense. And to add insult to injury, they said, yeah, we can charge you with second-degree murder, 2 years probation, no jail time. Except she's a nurse, so she'll lose her licensing. And she'll lose any of the benefits that she has. And she won't be able to file for any of the resources. You can't file for food stamps, none of that shit. Oh, and you can't file for federal student loans, so she couldn't even try to go to college again and find a new career. She's a DV survivor just trying to protect her unborn daughter at the time. Why are you trying to send her to prison? The charges need to be dropped against Keshia Golden. Please like, comment, and share this video because people are not talking about it and her trial is coming up.
Now, Keshia Golden arrived for her latest court hearing this morning. Golden says she killed her abusive boyfriend to save herself and their then unborn child. The Chicago woman fatally stabbed Calvin Sidney back in 2022 when he allegedly attacked her after their baby shower. Golden was charged with 2 counts of murder. Her lawyers in the public defender's office argue Golden was acting in self-defense against a man with a history of abuse.
It's a scary message to send the women of Cook County that if you defend yourself in an abusive relationship, that you could face first-degree murder charges.
2022, police responded to 5 domestic.
If you were following the Lindsay Clancy case, you need to also be following the Keshia Golden trial that starts tomorrow out of Chicago. Let's talk about it. October 22nd, 2022, while 8 months pregnant, Keshia Golden grabbed a knife and stabbed her partner. She's claiming self-defense. The trial starts tomorrow. You see, there had been over 50 police calls to their residence. In fact, there had been over 5 in the month preceding this incident. As of July, she had a temporary restraining order against her partner, and the only reason they were together that day was because it was her baby shower. She alleges that he threw her down the stairs earlier that day, and many family members watched as he smashed her head into a counter and then threw her into a refrigerator. She grabbed the weapon alleged and did what she says she did. The trial starts tomorrow at the famous Cook County Courthouse in Chicago. Supporters are asked to show up and wear purple for awareness for domestic violence as we once again hear how far a woman will go in order to protect herself and her children.
A woman has the right to defend her life. A black woman has the right to defend her life. A pregnant black woman has the right to defend her life. Keshia was fighting to live, fighting to protect herself and her unborn child. We are 6 days away from trial in this case, the state of Illinois versus Keshia Golden. This is a case that never should have gone to trial. However, we are confidently entering that courtroom with Keshia Golden. We believe that the medical evidence, the physical evidence, and the extensive history of violence speak louder than any accusation or any last-minute attempt to try to sanitize the violence that Keshia endured. The court will hear how Keshia endured months of escalating physical violence, years of violence, but months of escalating physical violence in the months leading up to the birth of her daughter. The medical evidence supports Keshia. The physical evidence supports Keshia. The history of violence supports Keshia. And the truth supports Keshia. The survivor community and the justice community are standing with her. Dismiss these charges and let Keshia and her daughter walk free into their futures.
Hey everyone, Sierra here. I'm a member of Keshia's defense team. I'm a mitigation specialist. And from our team to all of you, we just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing Keshia's story, for supporting her, all the comments, the messages, we've been reading them, passing them along to Keshia, and it is so appreciated to know that people all across the nation are standing behind her. Just a few updates because we've seen a lot of questions. So court is tomorrow at 9:30. There will be a rally at 8:30 a.m. on the courthouse steps. That's 2650 South California Ave, Chicago, Illinois. We ask that if you come out, please wear purple. Purple's the color for domestic violence awareness. And we want Keshia to be able to see when she looks out across the courtroom how many people support her. And it also sends a message to other domestic violence survivors that we stand with you. We've been working on this case for a long time, and we're really trying to show people that public defenders are relentless. We have thrown everything we have to try to get this case dismissed, and ultimately that just hasn't happened yet. But also, we're calling attention to the disparities. Like, Black women are prosecuted at a rate so much higher than white women for acts of self-defense. And we can't stop talking about that. And when this case concludes, however it ends, I look forward to you guys hearing from Keshia herself. And until then, we have one of our community advocates is working on a GoFundMe. When that's ready, we'll put the link in our bio. We know a lot of you guys have been asking about that. We'll post updates here on the Instagram account at Free Keshia Golden. And yeah, we will see you all tomorrow.
Should a pregnant woman go to prison for the rest of her life for murdering her abusive boyfriend? This is the story of Keshia Golden. When she was 8 months pregnant, at her baby shower, her abusive boyfriend came, grabbed her by her hair, and slammed her into the countertop. As a result of that, Keshia grabbed a knife and stabbed his leg, damaging his femoral artery. Because of that damage, he ended up dying. Currently, she's facing first-degree murder charges. Now, according to her defense attorney, Keshia and her ex-partner had a very abusive relationship. During the course of their relationship, she called the police 50 times. 4 months before this incident, Keshia called the police 5 times. One of the incidents was when she was 18 weeks pregnant and he tried to choke her, about to kill her. The internet is now divided. There are a lot of people protesting, asking the state's attorney to drop the charges against her. But what do you think? Should she face a murder trial for killing her abusive boyfriend? Or should the state's attorney drop the charges?
I can't believe I'm just now hearing about this. So Keshia Golden, okay? She was 8 months pregnant when her abuser was attacking her, okay? She was going through the gambit. He was beating her. And she stabbed him in the leg to get away. And unfortunately for this piece of shit, actions have consequences, and he died. Then Chicago turns around and charges her with murder. Because she was defending herself, trying to get away from her abuser. She's a nurse. She's a mom. She has no criminal history whatsoever. And like I said, they charge her for defending herself. She couldn't get away. He was beating her. So her trial starts on Monday. So I got another rabbit hole I gotta dive down. I just scratched the surface of this whole fucking debacle. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, why are they going after her for trying to defend herself? I mean, so yeah, we got another one. So let's go. Let's show our support. I'm gonna dive in. Like I said, I got another rabbit hole to dive down, but yeah, it's fucking insane. Like why can't men just keep hands to ourselves? Why is our first response to anything rage and violence? That seems to be the default response for any male, is rage and violence. Like, And then people act shocked when somebody finally has enough and they defend themselves. Like, people act shocked. And it's like, oh, why'd you... Yeah, doesn't matter. Anyway, Keshia Golden, go look her up. It's a complete fucking travesty.
I know the Lindsay Clancy trial is not over yet, but there is another trial starting, probably by the time you see this, that you need to pay attention to. And when I tell you why, it is going to make you angry. This woman, Keshia Golden, was 8 months pregnant when she stabbed her boyfriend to death. Sounds pretty straightforward, except that it's not. Over the previous months, she had called the police over 50 times asking for help because of domestic violence. She even had a protection order against her boyfriend. And yet, on this night in question, her boyfriend was in her home. He had slammed her head into the counter, and to defend herself, she stabbed him in the leg with a knife. It just so happened to hit an artery that caused him to bleed out and die. I want you to remember for a moment that the leading cause of death in the United States for pregnant women is murder by their partner. Now, the prosecution is saying that this is first-degree murder. They're saying that they argued, the argument escalated, and that she followed him into the bedroom and that he laid down on the bed, and then she stabbed him in the leg. I guess it is pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward self-defense.
So the overzealous prosecutions in this country just never end, because tomorrow we have a trial beginning of Keshia Golden, who, while 8 months pregnant, got slammed against the kitchen counter by her partner. She grabbed a knife to stop the attack, hit the dude in the leg, and he died. And Cook County, Chicago, Illinois, charged her with first-degree murder. There is no planet where even if the attack never even occurred, would that be a first-degree charge. You have to have the mental culpability and knowledge that your actions could actually end somebody's life. Taking a knife and hitting somebody in the leg, a reasonable person does not expect that person to pass away. So it shouldn't be first or second degree under any circumstance. Even if there was no abuse and it was just a regular relationship. But expert evaluations, apparently, placed Keshia's intimate partner relationship in the high-risk category for homicide. So it appears there was domestic violence in the history. We will get into the facts of this case. It starts tomorrow. And she had her baby while she was on house arrest. I mean, I don't know what planet these prosecutors are operating from, but it is certainly not this one. That's not a first-degree case, even if there was no abuse. If a girl walked into a fucking house and just hit somebody in the leg to attack them with a knife, it's not first degree. You don't think that's going to end somebody's life. Period. So, it appears to be a case of self-defense entirely. We will see the facts as they come out. What do I think is going to happen? I have no fucking idea. But it's not going to be first or second degree. Negligent, homicide, manslaughter, at worst, not guilty. If there's a history of domestic violence and obviously injuries shown after that happened to her. Seems pretty clear. But charging over first degrees. We got bow bitches on this case too?
I cannot believe I am just now hearing about this, but I need you guys to lock in really quick. Keshia Golden was 8 months pregnant when her abuser attacked her, slamming her head onto the kitchen counter. And in an act of complete and undeniable self-defense, she stabbed him in the leg in order to flee and get away from him. Unfortunately for him, actions have fucking consequences, and he died. She got charged with first-degree murder. Make it make sense. Anyway, her trial starts on Monday. It's in Chicago. She's a nurse, a mom, and was acting in complete self-defense. As a nurse myself and as a domestic violence survivor, I can't not talk about this. And unfortunately, because our society is just incapable of equality and equity, her story will not get the same attention as if it were mine or another white woman because she is Black. So please make noise about this. In Chicago, if you are anywhere near the courthouse and want to show up in support of her, I encourage you to do so.
This woman is going on trial starting on Monday, and she could be facing the rest of her life in prison, allegedly for defending herself against an abuser. I'm a forensic scientist and a former CSI. This is Keshia Golden. Keshia is charged with killing her boyfriend, and she admits that she did in fact kill him. His name is Calvin Sidney. And Calvin was killed by Keshia when Keshia was 8 months pregnant. Keshia claims that Calvin attacked her in their kitchen, slammed her head into the counter, and she defended herself using a knife. She stabbed him in the leg, but unfortunately, the knife hit his femoral artery and he died. She is charged with first-degree murder. And this is despite the fact that there is an incredibly long documented history of domestic violence here. 3 months before Sidney was killed, he was served with a protective order. That protective order stemmed from an event when he punched Keshia in the face while she was pregnant. And in fact, prior to the night of the stabbing, Keshia had called the police at least 50 times. And Calvin Sidney had been arrested several times for assaulting her, which is probably why prosecutors were willing to give her a deal. They were willing to give her an opportunity to plead guilty to second-degree murder, which is still a felony. But they were offering no jail time, just 2 years probation, which is obviously a good deal for Keshia, except it's really not. Because obviously, as a convicted felon, she would have a lot of issues going forward. She would be ineligible for public housing, and frankly, housing would be difficult to come by. She would lose access to benefits that she needs, for example, healthcare funds, and she wouldn't be able to work in healthcare anymore, which is what she does for a living, which means she'd have to start a whole new career, which she probably would have a difficult time doing because as a convicted felon, she would not be able to get any student loans. And Keshia is a single mother to the 3-year-old child that she was carrying when she was assaulted. So she rejected the deal, and prosecutors are moving forward with first-degree murder charges. This is going to be another case of an affirmative defense, where the defendant is going to say, she did the act, she stabbed him in the leg, she caused his death. The issue here is going to be whether she was legally able to use force to defend herself. Now, I know this is going to be likened to other stabbings, but it's important to remember that she is a woman fighting against a man, and she is pregnant, which puts her at a significant disadvantage. So although using a knife to defend against somebody who is assaulting you with their hands might seem like disproportionate force, because of her physical limitations, it's not necessarily disproportionate force. And she stabbed him in the leg, which could be considered consistent with self-defense, with her claim that she just wanted him to stop, that she wasn't trying to kill him, she was just trying to stop the assault that she was facing. The problem is that there is testimonial evidence that is apparently going to be offered for the state by a relative of the decedent. That testimony is apparently going to be given by Calvin Sidney's uncle, who said that the two were physically separated and that Keshia allegedly took the knife and followed Sidney into a different room where he was stabbed. The uncle says that he witnessed this physical assault wherein a pregnant Sidney was pushed onto a counter. But he further says that he then stepped in between the two of them and the decedent went into a bedroom and laid down on the bed, and then Keshia got a knife and stabbed him. He also says that he was trying to keep Keshia away from Sidney at this time. So without seeing the evidence in this case, it seems like a lot of it is going to come down to this testimonial evidence, which may or may not be supported by physical evidence in the crime scene in the form of blood stain pattern analysis, for example. I'm just speculating here, but I'm guessing that there might be issues with this testimony. Because on its face, this account is pretty clear and it's compelling evidence against self-defense. Which then makes me wonder why the prosecution would be willing to give an offer of second degree with no jail time. I wonder if they know that this witness is not a particularly good witness. As I mentioned, the trial is expected to begin this week, so we will probably see jury selection taking a couple of days and then opening arguments. So I'll be back to talk about this case more once they start presenting evidence. But for now, I want to know, what do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments.
According to reports, police had responded to more than 50 domestic violence calls connected to the couple's home. Golden had also obtained an order of protection against Sidney in July 2022 after allegedly punching her in the face. Her attorneys say this was not an isolated incident but part of a documented history of abuse, and that is the part that makes this case so difficult to look at because people love to judge the final moment without asking what happened before the moment. According to Golden's attorney and supporters, Sydney slammed her head against a kitchen counter while she was pregnant. Golden says she was defending herself and her unborn child. Prosecutors have a different version. They say the couple argued in the kitchen. Sydney pushed Golden onto a counter, and after, family members separated them. Sydney went into a bedroom and lay on the bed. Prosecutor alleged that Golden then armed herself with a knife, went into the bedroom and stabbed him in the thigh, hitting his femoral artery. So, yes, there are two very different versions of what happened. And that is exactly why this case needs to be carefully examined, because self-defense is not supposed to mean that a person has to wait until they literally about to die before they allow to protect themselves. Like, domestic violence doesn't always look like one dramatic attack. Sometimes it is years of intimidation, threats, physical violence, apologies, fear, and escalation. And when someone has been living in that environment, the question of what they believed was going to happen next can become extremely complicated. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that Golden was pregnant at the time. She wasn't just trying to protect herself. According to her defense, she was trying to protect her unborn child too. And prosecutors did give her an opportunity to plead guilty to a lesser charge of second-degree murder. The offer would have resulted in 24 months of probation and a felony conviction. But she rejected that. And honestly, I understand why someone would struggle with accepting that kind of deal, because accepting a plea would mean admitting to a crime that she maintains she did not commit in the way the prosecution describes it. She is saying, I didn't murder this man, I defended myself. Those are two completely different things. And if she genuinely believes that she acted in self-defense, accepting a felony conviction just to avoid trial could feel like accepting responsibility for something she believes was necessary for her survival. Her attorney repeatedly maintained that she acted in self-defense and that the law should protect someone who is defending herself and her unborn child. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I'm not saying that she should automatically decide that Golden is innocent simply because she says she was abused. I'm saying that history of alleged abuse matters. Like, the 50 plus domestic violence calls, it matters too. The protection order, like the alleged physical attack, matters, and the fact like that she was 8 months pregnant, and all of those circumstances should be part of the conversation when we talk about what happened that night, because it is incredibly easy for people sitting comfortably at home to say she should just walk away or she should just go to jail. But what if walking away wasn't an option? What if you are pregnant? What if the person attacking you has allegedly hurt you before? What if you have already called the police again and again and tried to protect yourself, and now you're terrified because if a man hits you and he's doing that while you're pregnant, of course you will be scared, not just for you, not just for yourself, but for your baby too, because this woman was pregnant. And that is why this case is so difficult. And now Keshia Golden is going to have her day in court. Her attorney believes they can prove she acted in self-defense, while prosecutors argue that the stabbing happened after a physical confrontation had already been separated. So this isn't simply a story about a woman who stabbed a man, but we don't know. We were never there, so we'll have to wait while we fight for her. Innocent until proven guilty, that's what I can say. And it's a story about whether the circumstances surrounding an act of violence or are given the same attention as the act itself. Because if a woman spends years allegedly being abused, repeatedly has police responding to her home, obtain a protection order, and then one day fights back during a confrontation, we cannot just erase everything that happened before the final moment. Yeah, Keshia Golden is going to court, and the evidence will ultimately have to speak for itself. But whatever happens in this case, I hope it forces people to have much bigger conversation about domestic abuse, self-defense, and the reality that sometimes survivors don't get to choose the perfect moment to defend themselves. So guys, leave a comment about what you think about this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.